Attention carriers, brokers, and dispatchers. You're tuned into the eCarrier Check channel, where we bring you the insider tips, tricks, and insights to drive your sales and logistics business to new heights. Each week, your hosts, Jared and Nate, sit down with the top professionals in the industry, diving deep into everything from prospecting and cold calling to maintaining carrier relationships and maximizing your bottom line. Learn real-world strategies, hear success stories, and get actionable advice you can implement in your business today. So buckle up and get ready for an entertaining and informative ride. This is the eCarrier Check channel, your source for can't-miss logistics intelligence. Stay tuned.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. We made it through the week.
Woo! Needed it.
We did it. that Friday coffee just hits different, right? When it's the last day of the week. I know a lot of you probably actually work on the weekend, so
yeah,
keep up the grind, right? But today, actually, I'm excited because we're going to be talking about sales process. Whether you feel like your sales process is broken or maybe this needs a little bit of a tweak, we want to talk through that today. If you guys have any questions or maybe any advice on your guys' end that you can give to the community, throw them in the chat.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear your advice. Just any questions. What's up, Tyler Killer? How you doing, brother? Happy Friday, man.
Where you at, brother? I always like to hear where you're at. What's going on in your life? Yeah. I think something that's interesting, especially as we get going. Yeah. Throw in the comments how your sales process is working or what is working versus what isn't. I love our community. We're so positive. We're here to grow each other. And so I think that's a huge thing. But we talk to so many people that are just trying to go from 0 to 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That first step is so tough.
Mm-hmm.
You had we had an opportunity to sit in on some calls yesterday, and you could tell those cats were just kind of fresh. You know what I mean? They just were, they were just kind of working through, is this working or not?
Right.
Hey, what'd you think of?
What's up, T. Landy?
What's going on, guys?
What's up, Bella? Comments are rolling in. What's going on, guys?
Down with? You got to tell us.
Hey, Rad Fred, good morning.
Is he replacing his damn transmission again? God bless us.
Oh,
what are we doing? What are we doing? But back to yesterday, these two cats are trying to go from 0 to 100.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they have the right ingredients. This one cat used to be a flatbed guy. The other guy actually was in kind of the pipe and welding industry. I love that.
Yeah.
Right ingredients are in the pot, but how do you make it taste good here? You know what I mean? And it was interesting to hear their rawness making calls.
Right.
But what was your observation of that?
They weren't afraid, first of all.
Which I love.
And I don't know. You want to make something taste good. Obviously, people add salt. I freaking hate salt, by the way.
God, I love salt.
But
big salt guy.
If you want to taste good, throw in salt, right?
It's coming out of my pores.
But no, what I loved about it is they started off saying, okay, well, this is what we used to do. This is what we're good at. This is what we know. Well, let's just kind of take that and start. Right?
Yeah.
We're starting at 1, trying to get to 100. How do we start? Where do we begin, right? So they started with what they knew and what they used to do, right? So carrier bearing took a permanent vacation.
Damn it. I don't know how much that costs. How much is a carrier bearing?
What do you think?
If you don't mind, have you
1,500 maybe?
I'm gonna guess this is a carrier bearing. I don't know enough about it. I'm gonna guess it's a $4,000.
4,000. Okay.
Let's see what it says.
But no, I liked how they started. They're trying to get the ball moving, so they're just kind of doing what they already know. But what I liked about these guys is they were ready to have a conversation, right? They didn't seem nervous. And
yeah,
I appreciate about that. What's up, Chief Ray Holler?
What's going on, man? How are you? From stop 3 or 6. Dude, this cat is just going hard on friggin' nursery stuff right now. Oh, it's $120.
Oh,
okay, well that's not terrible.
No, not at all.
That's an okay thing. if you get carried away at Olive Garden, I spend $120. You give me the sauce. You know what I mean? I just need some extra friggin' Alfredo sauce.
Endless soup, bro. But no, what were your thoughts on them? You know, like I said, I really enjoyed where they're starting. That's what I would do if I was starting over.
Yeah.
Kind of one, right? I would start at what did I do that would make sense for me to do now? So I don't know. That's kind of how I felt about them.
Yeah, I loved the way they took, and I think this is an example of something that everyone could do, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to come to the show and say, I want something tangible that we can do, they had a way.
Oh, the tow bill, yeah.
Oh, that's brutal. I bet the tow bill was $1,500.
Yeah.
Tow truck companies are brutal. But these two cats had a way of reframing rejection.
Yeah.
It just kind of slid off their back. They didn't really necessarily care. And they also were calling with a value-driven purpose, right? They were like, okay, well, here are the two things that we used to do. I used to be a flatbed guy. I used to be a pipe guy. I know these two industries. I can talk. What did he say? He was like, I can talk about that all day. It was something about pipe. And they had that kind of, rejection mindset of, it's okay, I'm just going to go to the next one, but I also have some value to add to these people. And when we talk to so many other people, let's see, carrier bearings are cheap as long as their vacation doesn't start in the middle of the road. That's so good. That's so good. Oh my gosh, I love that.
The rejections, they
just had a different way of looking at rejection, and they had a different way of, my sales call is going to be more value driven because of these two things that I know.
And they went into that first call not asking for business right away because they know right now it's not going to happen. So they went and trying to at least get someone with a decision maker, right?
Yeah.
Getting in touch with them, trying to figure out their name, and then start rolling the ball on the next call, right?
Right.
So, and then what I love too is the flatbedder guy. He was actually calling some of the locations that he would drop off at.
Yep.
He's familiar with them.
Yeah.
He mentioned that on their calls.
A lot of value there.
A lot of value there as well. Is follow up by email only? Oh, sorry, I can't flip your comment here. Is follow up by email only okay?
Michael, this is a good question. Welcome back. Good to see you, man. I wonder how's life? I'd be curious how you're doing, brother. I think follow up by email is okay until it isn't. I think the problem with email is you get ghosted, or you get put on their back burner because you're not a hot priority. They don't need a vendor right now. They don't need that person right now. And so I think right now that you really need to get almost 2 frames of contact. And what I mean by that is, obviously you just reached out to them via phone, via email. How do you transition maybe into a social environment? You and I have sent some LinkedIn videos lately, and they're wildly easy. And I'm talking about, you just get connected on LinkedIn, and you push the little chat box at the top, right? At the very top of LinkedIn. If you have the app, get the app. And all you have to do is literally type in the person's name once you're connected with them, and push the plus button, and you can turn your camera either into a recording. If you're not good looking, that's fine. Nate and I, we do more recordings than videos, right? But you can at least touch them another way, right? And so I think right now, staying different and trying to just add more value, boy, I tell you what, email may get lost. Make sure that you have a way to touch them another way. And that could be over the phone. That could be over LinkedIn. That could be over a Facebook message if they're into that. Some people are more, my Facebook's personal. I don't want to do that. Some people are like, yeah, connect with me on Facebook, right?
Yeah, and I think that's something to add to your sales process, right? So when you think about a sales process and you're like, I think it's broken or there's something missing.
Yeah.
You have to be able to switch it up.
Yeah.
And now when you do switch it up and you're sending LinkedIn messages, now what do I say in that video?
Right.
That's the next thing.
Right.
What value or what question or what hook, right?
That's the
hardest
question.
thing.
This is the hardest thing. And I think this is really important. No matter what phone call you're on, Michael, no matter what email you're on, no matter how you guys are doing this, man, I tell you what, I think you've got to make sure there's a next action item. There's a next step action item in that call or in that email or in that voicemail, right? Hey, Michael, this is Jared. We just talked last week. We were talking about fuel specifically in California, and I wanted to see if you saw how the rates bumped up 25 cents this week. Is there anything that I can be doing to help you with that, or is there some value around that, right? So I think first off, give some action and give some value, right? And number three, and if you were on the Jolly show, I thought this was kind of interesting yesterday. Chris Jolly and I had a chance to talk.
Yeah.
And he talked about trying to make people remember him, right? So not only in that phone call, that email, whatever line that you're going after these clients, you need to have the action item. You need to have some sort of value proposition, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about value propositions here in a sec. And then you need to make sure they remember you. You can't be the guy in the dust that's just being thrown to the wind. So Michael, wherever you're from, by the way, I don't know where he's from. He's got a great looking picture, right? Have you seen his picture? Look at his picture. Can we blow that up? Good looking cat. You know what I mean? Where you're from, make sure they remember that.
Right.
You know, everyone remembers we're from Nebraska.
Right. I mean, and think of the phone call too, right? So if you found something that was maybe that grabbed their attention on that phone call, I would honestly use that on the subject line. If it wasn't where you're from or whatever, it could be your football team. I don't care.
Yeah.
But figure out what caught their attention on that phone call. That way they see that email when it comes through.
Yeah. I think Cheap Freight Hauler says he goes thinking about going back into flatbeds. I'd be curious of why. Is it just because they're getting paid a shit pot right now in the South? I would be just kind of interested, you know, like, is there, because he does some specialized nursery stuff, multiple stops, lift gates. I mean, this cat's got a different type of mindset.
Right.
And I love that he's friggin' hazmat too.
Yeah.
Right? Hazmat flatbeds aren't bad either, right? You can get in with some tote companies that are selling friggin' chemicals of some sort. Away we go.
Right.
Either way.
Yeah. Hey, RJ, how you doing?
What's
Good
up?
to see you.
Luckily, I have towing on my insurance. So it only costs $250.
That's huge.
There's a friggin'
That's awesome.
You know,
Good
honestly,
job.
I got to give it up for carriers that are watching today. If you haven't just asked the question, how do I reduce my friggin' maintenance costs? Tow trucks, guess what? They sell towing insurance. That tow truck bill, I bet, is $900 to $1,200.
Yeah.
And he just paid $250. Good on you. I friggin' love that. This is why I love this guy. This guy's, you got to get to Nebraska. I'm friggin' tired of it.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. What do you say? In the age of AI, we can all be good looking. That's true. I'm not going to disagree with that. Like, hey, AI, make me 26 pounds lighter.
Right. Oh my goodness, I love it. You know, something that you are a big fan of, and I know we got a lot of carriers on today, but Jared is a huge fan of calling carriers, and just kind of chatting it up, whether it's about a lane they run or maybe the equipment that they have. But you know, talk to me about how that can gain value for your sales process, because I think it does come together. You know, if you're calling a shipper that you know they run specific lanes, let's start calling carriers that run those lanes, right? Tell me how that value kind of goes together, and you know, how does a conversation with the carrier look like with that?
Yeah.
And then throwing it to the sales call.
This is such a great question. If you think about it, I want to talk about the shipping manager for a second.
Okay.
This cat is, or guy or gal, right? That's why I call them cats. You know, from a day-to-day standpoint, shippers are always sitting around going, man, I've got to get these loads out. My boss is saying, you got to keep reducing my freight rates. You know, they're trying to do paperwork because the sales guy is sending him stuff, and you got to send paperwork back and send it back to accounting and send it back to sales. And sometimes, if it's a smaller or mid-sized company, they don't have electronically processed things like that, right? How does the accounting department know to pay your freight bill, right? How does the sales guy know that freight left the dock, right? So the sales or the shipping manager is wildly pressured in his day-to-day. He's also got 40 phone calls coming in from a bunch of brokers tracking things, or there's an accident, or his truck is running behind, right? Think about the shipping manager's point of view, okay? Wildly hectic.
Yeah.
Do you think he knows that what the freight rate is doing in a certain market?
No.
He doesn't have time, right? And so to kind of come back into what you just asked a little bit here, okay, is how do you find value when you're talking to shipping managers, either as a carrier or as a broker? And it's by providing those little things that you do on a day-to-day basis that are a lot more valuable than you think, right? RJ, I don't know if RJ is on here or Love Creed or something. These two gals, I can't get enough of them. They work their asses off. But you know what they do every week? There is some value-driven post to friggin' what's fuel doing? What's containers doing? What's capacity in Northern California looking like?
Right.
And he thinks she just gets that out of the blue sky. No, she's having to call carriers to find out where we're going.
Right.
So that when you get that information and you're on the cold call with a shipper, boy, it sounds really cool when you can go, hey, here's what I do. But I think if you have some freight going in this area, I've seen these rates go up by 10 to 12% this week because of these 4 things or these 3 things. Adds way more value to that guy that's running his ass off, that doesn't want to hear, I got a truck in your area. He wants to hear, oh, that's going to impact me. You know what I mean? That's going to do something different to either my rates or capacity or whatever it may be, right? Next here, and when is the
DOT Blitz.
DOT Blitz week? Is that next week?
I think,
Right?
Bella threw that on her LinkedIn. Bella, when is the DOT Blitz week?
When that comes up, guess what? You should be calling people the week before, not the week of, and saying, hey, next week's DOT Blitz week. You should be checking in with your carriers, who's running, who's not, right?
Yeah.
Who wants to be a part of that week and who doesn't? Because a lot of carriers just sit at home. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's just one way of taking those conversations, turning it into value, and moving it into your conversation. Right? So
I love that.
That's definitely one thing. Let's see what
Chief Fair Heller says a nurse only lasts 4 months a year. Started as a flatbed carrier, had an accident, and tried something else. Okay.
Got it.
And Love says that you mentioned to her about calling carriers.
Which I love that. Did you see? You know what I loved about her comment more than anything is right there. It helped my confidence. You know what I mean? Like sometimes just doing things over and over, it just allows you to get a little more confident, right?
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yep.
Big fan of that. I had to drop the hazmat because my wife got her license and insurance wouldn't take her.
Oh.
Hold on, say that again.
Had to draw my hazmat.
My wife got her license and insurance wouldn't take her.
What the heck?
No shit. I'm running next, begging for an inspection. I'm running next, begging for an inspection. So did you know why? Is your wife driving? Is she in the truck with you? What kind of license did she get? Brittany, what's up? It's good to see you. Help me start to learn and understand broker language. Nice. Yeah, honestly, I mean that's it right there. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you're only good as the next question you ask. Yeah. The way you talk to the shipping managers, the way you talk to those carriers, making sure you're asking those questions that make a difference in their lives is more important than what it is for you.
Exactly. Yeah, Brittany, thanks for being here. I don't know if I've ever seen you here. Connect with us.
Yeah. Brittany, what's up?
So Love and RJ said next week. So it's the 13th through the 17th for DOT Blitz.
That's what I'm saying. Like you guys got to start making calls today, Monday. Let people know, hey, you're going to run into these issues because people just quit friggin' calling. They don't give a damn.
Right.
They just quit hauling completely.
Right.
Yeah, that's next Tuesday through the week.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Start calling. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing too, you on your list. I'm looking at your list here and I was thinking about your call with Chris Jolly yesterday. It was super good. If you guys missed the Chris Jolly episode of Jared yesterday, go check out Chris Jolly's podcast and take a good listen. It is super helpful. Oh, she got her CDL.
Nice. Hold on. Are you guys doing team driving?
Wow.
I would love to interview a team mother or wife husband.
That's awesome.
That'd be wild.
Good for her.
That's wild. I love that.
Yeah. What's up, DIY?
Morning, fellas. What is up?
Morning, brother.
There's the guy. If you guys aren't watching this cat, one of my favorites. Big fan of this guy.
Go subscribe to his channel. Connect.
Huge fan.
Next week, brother. Okay. All right. I forgot I was going with that. I know it was Chris Jolly, the episode yesterday. One thing that kind of stuck with me, and Chris mentioned this too, is, he tries to sell value, and that's what we try to, you have to have that value.
Yeah.
So calling carriers is a good way to add value.
Yep.
Maybe even dabbling into a little bit of freight waves, kind of see what's going on out there, add value. What are other ways that people adding value besides calling carriers, maybe looking at freight waves? there's some interesting ideas. You're a very interesting person. A lot of people tell me that.
I appreciate that.
They're like, you think differently, right?
That's okay.
How can we add value besides maybe calling carriers, freight waves? What else can we do?
I think that's such an interesting question, because what we do is fairly simple on a day-to-day basis, right? But here's some value that you'll get out of your pipeline if you just start doing this, and you'll actually find that people appreciate this more even now, right? And I said this yesterday to Chris, it's not about making all these cold calls every single day.
Mm-hmm.
It's about getting to the 5th and 6th and 7th call, and still staying persistent and adding value on those voicemails. Okay. The 30 seconds you get on that voicemail, whether they listen or not, whether they call you back or not, which is most likely they're not going to, is, I can't stress this enough, is the next 2 to 3 months, if you guys made 15 to 20 calls a day, and by week 4 or week 6, you're on your 3rd or 4th or 5th call, and you're leaving voicemails every time saying, hey, here's something I noticed in transportation this week. Is there something that you're doing this week that you might need some help with? Here's my phone number. Here's my email. Call me, or let's connect on LinkedIn, right? I think it's wildly important. Hey, Chief Red Dollar, take care, brother. I'd love to hear more about what's going on with his wife. That's kind of fun. But I really think it's important that your value comes from consistency. Because not a lot of people are sitting around going, yeah, I just made all those calls. Everyone rejected me. I'm going to throw them all away. Was throwing it away worth it? What if you called them back the next week and actually got a different response? Or you sounded different? I think right now, which is so valuable, I think this is probably one of the best times. I love DIY. I value some of my regulars by feeding them a leaf now and then. Exactly. Yeah. I think DIY said something to me when we first met. And he said, this was during COVID, right? I think we can say COVID on the air now, right? It's like saying shit, or no, I'm just kidding. I was going to go on.
If you're on Chris Jolly show,
you can say whatever you want. But he said something during COVID. He said, this was the best time to build relationships with shippers. If you're going from 0 to 1, right now, this is the best time to be cold calling, because you can get more reps than anybody. Nobody's going to remember you, because most people are forgetful, right? All of them are thinking about themselves. Most people have so many friggin' calls coming in. Double brokers are outworking all of us, right? This is the best time to get the reps in right now. So I think it's important when you're looking at accounts. That guy yesterday, the 2 guys that we were talking about, he's like, I used to haul for this company. I want to get in with them. He should call them 35 times until he gets to the right person, because it's like Groundhog Day out there right now. The movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. You can just make a call and everyone forgets. You can make a call and everyone forgets. Change your story until you get the right one.
I like that. So let's say you get on that phone with the decision maker. One thing on your list that you highlighted was, you ask a question, you stay silent. Sometimes I'm guilty of it. You ask a question, you continue to babble on. I'm guilty. I like to babble sometimes. I always have to stop myself and say, okay, give them time to respond. So I always try to make sure that you always give them that awkward pause, no matter who I'm talking to. So give me some, why is that important?
This is a good question. Most people keep doing lead on sentences, just constantly keep talking because they're not confident.
It's almost the nerves. Would you say it's nerves?
Yeah, they're not confident.
I was going to say, for me, it was nerves.
Love said earlier, hey, I've gained more confidence from having carrier conversations. Most people may not even be prepared. What we've seen from 0 to 1 is that most people aren't prepared. Preparation builds confidence, right? And so I think asking a quick question, getting them to say yes. There used to be this rule of saying yes 3 times, you could get them. Man, I tell you what, ask a question and find yourself just pausing. Because if you don't take 2 to 3 seconds, you're just going to keep leading on, and this guy's going to be like, or gal, right? Or just not going to be like, that's nice, not letting you talk. If a phone call was measured in by who's talking, you want it to be the 80-20 rule. that shipping manager needs to be talking 80% of the time of the conversation. You ask a question, they respond. You ask a question, they respond, right? It's like dating.
Right.
We've got to get to a point where you're memorable.
Right.
You've got to get to a point where you care about the other person more than you care about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no different in dating. You need to ask them a million questions.
Right.
And then they realize at the end of the conversation that they didn't ask you anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best date.
Right.
When you connect with them at that deeper level, sign me up.
Mm-hmm.
Ask a question, pause. Even if it's 2 seconds, pause.
Right.
So I think pauses are huge. I think that asking better questions, you can ask, there's a lot of surface level questions. We should do an entire show about questions.
Right.
There's a lot of surface level questions. And then there's questions that actually make a difference in what those people do on a day-to-day basis,
mm-hmm.
right? And if you can ask a question down here, that's something that's a pain point, you're going to get their attention a lot quicker.
Right.
And those pain points are all the same in our industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're all the same. They're all going to be carryover's late. Everyone's worried about double brokering. Everyone's worried about proper billing. Everyone's worried about, do I have the capacity to take care of my number one client, right? That's what they care about. If number one client orders 15 machines and they need them out now, you better jump. You know what I mean?
Well, and I like this too, because if you have a shipper that's dealing with these pain points, honestly, I would start calling shippers that are similar to them and start using that on that call.
Same exact thing.
Hey, I got a shipper going through some of these challenges as well.
Yeah.
Curious on how you guys are tackling that, right? So I do like that. So
I would say, honestly, in anyone that's watching, try to get to your 4th or 5th call with any shipper and see what the difference is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's really important.
I'm writing that down, DIY.
Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Very much. I recommend the audiobook. Yeah, I've actually listened to this. I love. In fact, funny enough, I was listening to a Goggins video yesterday before Jolly got on.
Nice.
And this is really good. I'm a big fan of David Goggins. He's a little hardcore, but he'll definitely keep you on the straight.
Right.
So
a lot of this talk it's kind of been broker talk, and I think that a broker call versus a carrier call could probably sound a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
You came from the carrier side and obviously on the broker side, so the difference. But
yeah,
we talked a lot about how the value a broker could bring right away. Tell me how different that sounds from the carrier end.
Yeah, I think carriers need to be considerably more confident. I think that them going in, they know everything that some brokers don't, right? They know what, how much this lane's costing.
Mm-hmm.
They know these things. They're staying in touch with that, right? Where carriers get caught up is that they feel like they can't be a full solution for the guy. And really, for the most part, most shippers, if a carrier calls in that actually can be not only responsive, but also add value and capacity on certain days so that they can communicate properly, carriers need to go in with a lot more confidence, not cocky, but just more confidence. And they need to start saying, hey, I'm in your area Thursdays and Fridays. I have a 48 flat, it's 102 wide. I can haul up to 47,000 pounds and I got tarps. How can I work with you? And be more direct to the point, right?
Carriers, if some of that you're on today, tell me a little bit about your sales process. I think that as a carrier, and I'm not a carrier, so I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I know how much they work. They work super hard. They're always on the road. They're giving updates to the shippers, or the brokers.
Right.
It's hard for them to really have a good sales process in place.
It's impossible.
Is there any advice that you can give to these guys that are running their own show, and how do you have a good sales process?
Yeah, this is a really tough, and you've got to be so disciplined as a carrier that if you don't have a dispatcher helping you find loads, that's tough. You're going to miss out on loads that may have made sense for you to be. I got to run back to Indiana, and I missed it because I wasn't on the board because I was driving. Right. So I think it's important that you add some people in your life that can help you grow the wheel. Right. I think honestly, I know dispatchers get a bad name. They're not terrible if you're playing in the spot market, or if you're playing half spot, half contract, where you get loads every day out of Indiana for a contract. Trying to get you back is harder, right? So making sure that as a carrier, you add the right people in your life so that they help you with billing. They help you with those things. And if you can, try to call like 3 people a week. You can lower it down. Just try to call people very intentionally. I drive by this guy's place all the time. I'm going to call there. I'm going to stop there, right? That's what we got to make sure we're focusing on.
Very motivational. Very motivational. Okay. Yeah, very motivational. Yeah. I'll take a listen too.
Yeah.
I know you got your list here, Jared. Where are we at? We're about 30 minutes into the show. Do you have anything else that you wanted to touch base on? There's a little bit more that maybe we can touch base on next week. But is there anything on the list there that you want to cover?
I was just looking to see if I could find
it's a new Kool-Aid flavor. Okay.
Yeah.
I love Kool-Aid.
I think as long as people are staying consistent, they're focusing on others when it comes to their sales calls, and just understanding why they're doing this. You know what I mean? Sometimes people get lost. Sometimes people get burnt out. Sometimes people just don't want to keep doing this.
Yeah.
And you just have to ask yourself, how do you rekindle a fire? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You surround yourself with good people. You put more logs in, right? You keep pushing yourself physically, mentally, and just get rekindled and get back in there.
Right.
And I know this industry is friggin' brutal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's wildly important that you understand why you're doing this, what fills your cup up, so that you can continue to try to make waves and go.
Yeah.
We've heard Cheap Freight Hauler. We've heard several different carriers go, what the fuck am I doing? I get it.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's not fun. Your health is always a mess, or you're not paying attention to things, and it'll creep up. And then I promise you, when your health stops you, you're gonna stop. Right?
Yeah.
So take care of yourself, stay consistent, and understand how to feed your soul.
Yeah, I like that, man. Hit us up. We got some people here today that if you don't know what we do, let's explain. Let's talk about what we do.
Yeah.
Obviously, we run this awesome YouTube channel. We did this in mind to help people, help this community.
Yeah.
We don't charge for meetups with us.
No.
If you are struggling, connect with us on LinkedIn. Let's schedule something. Let's just help you.
Yeah.
We can help each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I love about this.
The power of eCarrier Check is really wildly interesting. This is that nightclub that's in the back alley that lets you skip some steps when you're talking to shippers.
Right.
And I'll give you some examples. We give leads by equipment. Why is that important? Because you don't have to ask what friggin' modes they're running, right? We give you industry specific leads so that you can stay in an industry that you like. Maybe you like hauling pipe, then find more pipe haulers, right? And then we bring in all those insights into one place so that you're not having to go and work through this. And we teach you how we think. Nate and I think very much alike, so that you can be prepared to ask very intentional questions to that shipping manager based upon the knowledge that we give you. Right? Yeah. Maybe we can see that shipper ships on I-10. Yeah. We can see that, right? We can see that they use flatbeds and step decks and stretch flatbeds. That skips a step.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. I want to help you guys. We want to help you guys get to the next level when it comes to our leads, when it comes to carrier vetting, when it comes to looking for carriers. If the load boards don't work, what do you do next? We're the number one sourcing platform to help you find carriers in lanes with the right equipment, with the proper inspection data. We update our friggin' data all the damn time. Our programmers are truly the best in the industry.
Yeah. Top notch.
They could be brokers if they weren't friggin' programmers. They're incredible. These guys know more about it than anyone.
Right. And the nice thing too is you guys call our number, you're going to get one of us. And like I said, casual encounters.
Oh my gosh. I love a good casual.
Day off today, my little brother's graduation. Nice, bro. Where's he going to college, Gabriel? Is he going to college? Is he hopping into the trucking industry? Let me know, man.
I know.
But yeah, let's hit us up. Let's get together. We want to hear your story. We want to see how we can help each other grow. Because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we care about each other.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Let's see here. Hold on here. I got some comments. I don't want to let anyone out here. I've been using eCarrier Check to vet people. Yeah, very good vetting platform for sure. I like calling cash. Is there a secret on eCarrier? Yes, call me.
This is so good. This is so good.
Ton of common address names, associated companies. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
DOS Semi. I'm in for a casual encounter as well.
There we go.
Let's go. Let's get it rolling. Let's go eat some Mexican food.
We
Let's
have,
go talk.
we have a very free-based,
Yeah.
you know.
Brittany, connect with us. All right. Thanks for being here, guys. Have a good weekend. Be safe. Tune in next week. We'll be. I think we're back to our regular schedule somewhat. I know we took Wednesday off for the last 2 weeks, but we'll get back to it next week, guys.